What's up, y'all? I'm Siem Spark. I just recorded a part of this already, but my mic wasn't on, so I'm gonna redo it. Then I'm gonna show you guys how I made this EDM inspired hyperpop beat. I'm gonna start off with the hook since that's what I started off with when making this beat. So first I started off with these chords, just simple chord progression. Started off with these bass notes. And since we're writing in G sharp major or A flat major, whatever you want to call it, usually the note below the key works with like most chords, so I just tried that and it worked. But for this one, it's already the 7th in the chord, so this chord has one note less than all the other chords. And then this last one is a little bit more spaced out, and it repeats on the snare hit. All the other ones they cut off at the snare, but this one repeats. It doesn't extend all the way. I just copied those chords onto another Patches Serum, and this one has a bit more high end, and the lows are cut out a bit more to make it like a bit more crispy sounding. They sound like this, and together it sounds like this. As you can hear, that's pretty full sounding, and that was more than enough for me. So I moved on to the lead. It's just a pretty basic melody that's complementing the chords. And since the chord repeats here, I put a little note, but for this, it cuts off. So the beat has like a little pocket. So, I mean, the energy drops a bit. Because if you have like a continuous lead melody, which is this one's almost continuous, but like if you have like a lead melody without any pauses, it might get a little much, but it still sounds good. But I just didn't want that for this beat. Then we're moving on to the bass. This one's really simple down here. Why it's down here is because this is like one of the most basic serum patches that you can make. I just used the basic init preset, which is just a saw wave. Didn't change anything, as you can see, not even unison or anything. I just added some of the basic noise, a standard one, and I cranked it up like to 36%. Then you want to go on to effects and apply some distortion. So without it, it sounds like this. With it, it sounds like that. But because it's so low, is because I didn't change the octave, because it sounds different if you turn it down because of the noise and everything. But you just want to play it very low, and it gives it like a very beefy, distorted feel. That wasn't enough for me. I wanted some extra spice, so I added this one. But this one is using these chords as a vocoder. But this bass is using these chords as a vocoder. These chords don't actually make sound, like they do make sound, but as you can see, I didn't route it to the master, so you don't hear it, but it is there. But it's just routed to this track, and then I used the vocodex. I'll show you guys without effects first. That's what it sounds like. Then I added a vocodex, and I used the built-in EQ, like get rid of the low end, because this other bass is already taking up those low ends, so I just want some more stuff in the middle going on. What I just did is I turned all of these down. This is default, and you can just play with this one a bit. I think it sounds good where it was. Play with this, the bandwidth. Then this is, I think, like a 4-man shifter, and this is like unison. So you just want to play with these knobs. I can't tell you exactly what it does. Oh, and most importantly, you want to set this one to 0 and this one to 1. So it's using the chords to create harmonies in the bass. But yeah, that's the vocodex. Then to like beef it up, I use OTT. Saturator from kilohertz in the mix half. Then a pretty basic EQ, just cutting out some lows, not cutting them out all the way. And just duck these frequencies that I didn't like that frequency I didn't like, and this one. I didn't like those, so I cut them out. Then a soundgodizer, I use this shit way too much. Then another parametric EQ where I am cutting out like most of the lows below 100 hertz. And to top it off, a camel crusher to give it like to really beef it up. But I did turn it down a bit because it's very strong. So that's the bass, and together it's like this. And then the melodies we have together sound like this. It is a bit overwhelming right now, that's why I sidechained it to the kick and the snare. As you can hear, I'll get to that later. Then we just have a really basic kick pattern, hitting on the one. Then I added an extra kick right here and on the snare, on the last snare. With the snare, it sounds like this. And then I got a top loop, just a very simple cat loop. And that's it for the drums. It's like really simple. One last thing I'm forgetting is this little plucky sound. First I'll show you the effects that's on the chords, which is very basic. First one is just some OTT and a sound godizer and EQ to cut out the lows. And then the second one is only a sound godizer and cutting out the lows. I could have added OTT because it's kind of a habit of mine, but it already like sounded crispy enough, so I didn't do it. But yeah, then lastly, I added this art following the chords. First, an OTT, sound godizer. Oh, that's actually turned up quite a bit. A delay to really fill it up. This time is set to 2 on ping pong. And then we got the reverb, like pretty strong reverb, chorus. Just make it a bit more interesting. And then lastly, an EQ cutting out the lows and boosting these highs a bit. And that's it for the melodies. And that's also it for this drop part. This balance is just sidechaining it. I routed all these melodies to a sidechain track, which you can just do by holding control and selecting all of them. Then right-clicking a track into route to this track only. And then that track will route to the master. You can put an effect on this track and it will affect all the tracks that are routed to that. And how I did this, you get it to the left, is by right-clicking it and dock to left. It makes it so that when you scroll, you can still see the sidechain on the left, which is pretty useful. And then some interesting stuff we got going on right here. These are like some bass stabs and shit. I think most are from Virtual Riot packs, like that real dubsteppy feel. Okay, let's get started though. This is what it sounds like without effects, but I cut it up to this, and then I added a vocodex. For this one, it's just default vocodex. There's nothing routed to it. I just like the effect that it gives. I used the built-in EQ again for this, a bit of bandwidth multiplier, some format shifting, and some unison. And I switched the order to 3 for this. I can't tell you what it does, it just sounds cool, I guess. Then we got an OTT. What I do for OTT is just take down the depth a bit, which is basically like a wet knob, I think. Turn down the downward a bit. Then I got a sound godizer, you know how we do it over here. Then an EQ, just cutting out this frequency that I didn't like. A disperser by kilohertz. I generally don't know what it does. Sometimes it sounds good. I just added it. Then a transient shaper to make that transient hit harder. A transient is basically like the first part of the sound, like that click you hear. When you turn the attack up, it just makes it more clicky. And then a decapitator, which is just distortion to beef it up a little, and then camel crusher to beef it up even more. But I turned it down a bit. But that's it for this one. Right here, it just repeats. And here it goes up in pitch, which you can do by right-clicking this and creating an automation clip. Okay, on to the next one. We got this one. I'll turn the effects off really quick. That's what it sounds like. It's from a bass loop. I just cut it up. And then I volume automated it. I just copied this preset onto this one. So that's just the same preset. And then this is the same bass loop, just a different part of it. This one is really cool in my opinion. It sounds like this without effects. Pretty crazy difference. Yeah, these are the same effects from this one. This sample does sound a bit more watery, I guess, which is pretty cool in my opinion. But this sounded cool. I just wanted to like try something, so I put a gross beyond there, and it made it sound very different, and I really like that. This is just the same one as these, but it's just pitch automated. And then I put this to introduce the growls, I guess, into the hook. But yeah, that's the hook. Okay, I'll start off with this, which is the chords, but I arpeggiated them. And then I threw some effects on there. So let's see what we got. We got a gross beat, a sound godizer, a parametric EQ, a comb filter by kilohertz, a saturator, a reverb, and this is what's doing most of the work. It's an effector, but I recorded some automation, which you can do by if you right-click this and you record automation, and then you click record and you just play around with it. It'll record what you did, and you can see these waves right here. Wave after wave. So when I play it, it'll move how I moved it before. When I use this Vox setting, it kind of makes the volume differ. Like when you have it turned on more, it makes the sound very loud. So with the balance, I just turned the sound down a bit after. Where the effector goes down, the balance goes up to like kind of keep it at a steady volume. These are 2 plucks layered. Well, actually, one of them is a lead from my Siem bank, and I layered that with a pluck. I also added a bass. following the root notes. For the intro part, this is the lead that I used. Yeah, this is basically the intro. Then I have a little build-up part right here. Then I have this EQ, bring everything in. I have some pretty wide chords right here. Yeah, there's the same thing repeating from before, but this time a different bass. This time a different reese bass. Sounds like this. Yeah, that's the reese bass. And then some effects. I got this down sweep, this riser thing, and a sweep. Then we got the kick. I just low passed the kick a little and gave it some more transient after that. After that, I added a fill, and that's the beat done. And then for the second verse, the same down sweep, but added some little drums right here, as you can see. Very simple shit. For the lead, there's a reverb automation, which is just like so it swells a bit. Yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. Thank you guys for watching. I don't know if I'll ever be doing something like this again. It depends on how you guys like it. But I think I'll be going back to more like traditional beat stuff instead of like, because this is like leaning pretty close towards an EDM track instead of a beat. Let me know if you have any other suggestions for tutorials on the channel. That's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.